All right, in this screencast, we're going to go over how to actually create a PowerPoint presentation that includes an image and some text. We're going to add a couple different slides and then apply transitions to those slides. So to get started, just pick the theme that you want from your PowerPoint gallery here, and I'm just going to choose the standard white theme. So I'm going to go ahead and click on that and choose. And when you first open up PowerPoint, it's going to give you what's called a title slide, and that's basically exactly what it means. It's title slide. So you just click here to go ahead and add the title, click here to click on subtitle. But sometimes the built-in templates that PowerPoint uses, they're not good enough. So what we're going to do is we're going to actually change this slide. And if you come up here at the top, you'll notice there's a lot of different tabs along the bar up here in PowerPoint, and the one that we actually want to make sure we're on Home, and we want to find this layout slide option. So if we click on this, we have the ability to change this slide to many different templates that are within this particular theme, and the one I'm going to choose is blank, and that will clear off all that content for us. Next, if we want to add an image to PowerPoint, once again, just make sure you're on the Home tab, and then over here in the Insert section, you've got a couple different options. And you may be tempted immediately to go to Media, but that's unfortunately Picture or Image is not under Media. They have a separate section just for that. So if I click on the Picture button, I can go through a photo browser, or I can choose from my file, and never ever ever choose clip art. But I'm going to choose a picture from the file. And I'm just going to go to my pictures, and let's see, let me go to iStock, and this looks like this will be just fine. So I'm going to choose this image, and I'll click Insert, and it will automatically add that photo for me. Now at this point, I can move this image, this photo wherever I want on the actual page, and you'll notice as I move it, there's a little blue line that shows up, and that's a guide to let you know that your image is now centered either within the horizontal or the vertical axis of the actual slide, so it helps to actually get everything nice and organized for you. So I'm going to move this actually over here just a little bit, and I'm going to assume that this is, say, a painting that someone has done, and I'm going to put some information about that painting over here on the right hand side. So I've included an image. Now I need to add some text. Well, if you come back up here to Insert, there is a text option. So I'm going to choose this, and you have many different options that are down here, but for the most part everyone is going to use a text box. So I'm going to choose text box, and the cursor turns into this capital A. Well, with that I can go ahead and drag a selection about what I want my text box to be, and then I can begin typing. And if you ever get these crazy autocorrects, you can just go back in there and recorrect it. Okay, so now I have text, but what if I want to edit that text? Well, if you click back on this text box, or text frame in this case, you can select the text that are in here, and in the font section you can actually make some changes. So if I want to choose a different font, say the a body here, I can change that. I can change the size of the font, and I could even change things like, say, the style of the font. Very simple. Works just like Microsoft Word in this case. Now, if I'm not really happy with the alignment or the position of this box, when you actually click on it, it thinks you want to edit the text, so there's not an easy way to actually be able to move it. But if you move your mouse away from the text within the box or up next to one of the lines, you'll see it becomes a four-sided arrow. And from there, you can actually move things around. But even better yet, if you just click once when you have the four-sided arrow, it will select the frame. You'll notice a selection marker, the insertion point right here that's blinking, that'll go away, and the whole box highlights in blue. And at that point in time, I can even use the arrows on my keyboard to just kind of nudge it exactly where I want it. So in this case, I want the top of the capital B to kind of be almost in line with the top of the image. Something like that. Next, I want to add another text box, and in this case I want to maybe put some text about this particular image. So I'm going to paste in here some lorem ipsum, some basic text, and maybe change its size, and maybe increase the overall size of this particular box. There we go. I'll click once and just kind of use my arrows to nudge it exactly where I want it to be. Get the bottom line to line up there, and there we go. So pretty straightforward, pretty easy to do, to add any images or text to an actual slide. Next thing is, how do we want to add transitions? Well, transitions can mean one of two things. You can actually transition from a black background to the first slide, or you can also transition between slides. So right now we only have one particular slide. Let's add a second one and I'll show you how this works. So once again, if you come over here to the slide section within the Home tab, you can choose to click a new slide. And if you notice, this button actually has two parts to it. There's an arrow that's pointing down and the actual button itself. If you click that particular button, it will essentially kind of create a new slide, but it will duplicate the previous slide that you've selected. So in our case, it was a blank slide. Well, if that's not what you want, you can just click delete. And you can choose the down arrow, and from here you can actually choose one of the templates. So let's say I want to choose a picture with caption. So I can, in this case, I've got a little caption template that's been set up for me. And I can click this, and this will actually open up, once again, choose a picture. So I can come back in here to pictures, iStock, and let's see, well, that'll work just fine for what we're needing to do. So there we go. Now I've got an actual image inside of there, and I can say the police by Sting. There we go. Just another way to add text within this particular template that's been set up. I prefer to actually do my own layout, but if you want to use the custom layouts that are already preset into the template, you're more than welcome to do so. All right, so now what we want to do is we want to actually create a transition, because right now if we click on slide 1 and we come over here and we click the play button, all we'll see when we transition between the slides, and I'm just pressing the arrow key right and left to kind of go back and forth, is it's just basically snapping from one slide to the next. There's no actual transition that's going on here. Hit escape to exit out of that. So what I want to do is I actually want to add a transition. Now to add a transition, how this actually works is you're going to choose the slide you're transitioning to and apply the transition there. So in other words, if I want to make a transition from slide 1 to slide 2, I want to select the slide I'm transitioning to, in this case the second one, and apply the transition there. To do that, it's really simple. Just make sure you have the second slide selected, and in these tabs up here you'll notice there's one called transitions. If you select that, you'll have a series of transitions that you can actually go through and slide through very many of these various transitions. So in this case, let's say I want to actually create a push. So I'm going to click on push, and if you'll notice, you've got a little transition icon that shows up next to the slide, and you'll have a preview. So let's see what that looks like again. I'll go back in here to slide 1. I'll come back to the Home tab, click on play, and if I press the right arrow, there's my transition. Now you can also transition into the first slide of your presentation. So in this case, if I don't just want the Bagels and Still Life by Desmond Du Pillsbury to just kind of pop on the screen, if I wanted to nicely fade onto the screen, I can add that transition. So using the same technique, I select the first slide, go up to the Transitions tab, and in this case I want to choose the Fade option, and that will fade that in. So let me go back to Home and I will click Play. And there we go. Nicely fades in. And that's it.